so much of youth hockey has become transactional. Like it's a game of recruiting. Like the best coaches today are, I think, arguably, and it concerns me sometimes that some of the best coaches are just really good recruiters that all they have to do is open the gate and they take the accolades, but they're maybe not they're really not invested in the craft of coaching or player development. And I think because of that, it can be for coaches who are and are maybe in situations like yourself, it's maybe really hard to just settle in and be in that moment when you're surrounded by people with a different mindset. How do you embrace that opportunity to say, hey, I've got what I've got? I think, as you just said, this is the army I'm rolling in with, and I'm good with that. Like I'm going to take a ton of pride in developing this group to the best of its ability, and I'm not going to get distracted by shiny things that are outside my control.
I mean, you summarized it right there. Like, what's in your control? Doing the best
Yeah.
of your abilities, I think the biggest thing. There's rules and laws and bylaws in the state of Ohio. Like, you can only do this, that, and the other. Like, recruiting is really not a possibility at the high school level. So, uh, it, it, I geek out on this stuff. I know not everyone else does. Of getting into the art of coaching and how do we chase excellence rather than just how can we
Yeah.
get the most out of the players or how can I recruit the best talent. I know youth hockey is a little more free, but I still believe that you do the best job, karma takes care of the rest. You developing better players, people take note, players take note. Why not do the best that you can where you're at, bloom where planted, as they say, and
Yeah.
then let the chips fall. I mean,
Love that.
you've done the best that you can. You can have confidence, you can have pride, you can have your head hit the pillow at the end of the day and feel really good about what you did and not have to be like, oh, I didn't win a championship. Well, maybe you got out recruited. And maybe there's players that, for whatever reason, didn't fall your way that could have helped. But at the end, you know, I think back to the reason why sports started in the first place, which is developing citizens for the world. And if you're developing citizens and players and developing them as people and players, the rest takes care of itself and life goes on. And the majority of us aren't coaching NHLers. It's just trying to make some taxpayers rather than leeches on the system.
I've heard you mention the taxpayers too. I like that. I've stolen that in a few conversations since we last talked. What would be, if we had a magic wand and we could go, 10 years in the future, is your balance between your professional life as a financial advisor and what you do on the hockey side, is that look the same, or is there a scenario where you think, gosh, if these things could fall a certain way, maybe I'm maybe a bit more focused on the hockey side of my life?
Man, if someone wants to pay me $100,000 to just go full on hockey, I think we might have a conversation here. But otherwise, I love what I do. I mean,
Are you listening, Ohio School Board?
yeah. Yeah, Blue Jackets. Hello, I'm in
Yeah,
town. I hear you. I
yeah,
hear you need to
exactly. Yeah.
update your development system. We got a few young guys coming through, a few first rounders.
And when I through our conversations, which I always enjoy, I always feel like they end prematurely, but I think, man, like that would be a role based on your skill set. The insights you provide in your content is on the team building player development side. And I'd just be curious, like Team X in the National Hockey League says, all right, Greg, here's a blank canvas. Do your thing. What would be some of the fundamental things that you would focus on in player development, based on the observations you've made?
I think going back to like Carolina, like get everyone on the same page. It's super important if you're getting players, right? Because there's a moment where your purview starts and finishes. So at talent identification, it's great to know and help and have an insert with the scouts and what you're looking for and what's easier to solve than not. But from like a pure player development, like just getting the knowledge and the verbiage down. Like players need to have access to the same knowledge. So when you're talking to them, they actually have an idea of the concept you're talking about. So for me, it's always, can we get the language? Can we get them involved in that? From there, we want to monitor. And I'm a big proponent on doing video. Like I've had players that completely transform their game just by doing video sessions and they go out on the ice themselves. Like did not need to step foot in the state of New York, had a player like go night and day, completely different habits, routes, the whole 9 yards. And it was just we had a conversation. We're talking about it. Hey, try this, try that. Half the stuff wasn't even technical; it was all tactical. So like you can do a bunch of videos. So I definitely build out the video part of it and how we're interacting with players that are away from us. And then from just a on ice standpoint, like if I got a blank canvas, like I'm just doing nothing but movement patterns that allow players to execute. From there, it's all about guiding eyes, guiding attention, guiding mind, reading, reacting, and cues. Like that would be for me blank canvas where I'm heading. I'm heading video. I'm heading mind. Let the strength and conditioning coaches work on the rest.
How much of the guiding eyes, guiding mind is done through video? How much of that is done on the ice, or is it kind of a 50-50 hybrid?
Well, there's knowledge of the game and knowledge in the game. So you got your knowledge of the game, which is understanding the patterns, like general concepts, like if someone leaves space, okay, as a puck carrier, probably, or puck receiver going to that newly vacated space is probably a good idea. Okay, well, now you got the puck. What are you looking for? And should you have looked maybe before you got to the puck? So you're just kind of guiding the attention and guiding the mind of what are the cues? What are my reads? So rather than a hard system, you're guiding the reads and the reacting. So whatever coach ends up being in the organization, no matter if they're playing A, E, or NHL, you're going to have some success because you're able to read through the game and be very purposeful. And ideally, you want the players to become their own best coaches. And then we're just adding ideas and
Yeah,
thoughts.
good point. Yeah, you know what? The more I agree with so much you said, and I often wonder. I'm like, why is that system not adopted more often in our sport, particularly when we see, um, baseball, for example, where I think there's incredible alignment throughout an organization in terms of how players are developed, the language, etc. I really enjoy the analysis that you offer in soccer or football, and particularly some of the club systems and why they've been successful. But I always come back to them like, man, it's tough to do that when coaches are fired every 2 or 3 years, and they're just coaching to see if they can stick around for that extra third or fourth year. It's tough to build in those consistencies. If you look at any other industry, I mean, any sort of planning like that would be long range, and with the intention that the people that started are going to be around to finish it.
And there's the incentives, right? Like just, I'm an economics minor, so financial
Yeah,
planning major. So I'm always thinking about incentives. Like, what is the incentive for X, Y, and Z person, and whatever their
yeah,
situation is. And if
totally.
you're a coach, like you're going to be more conservative because you don't want to get fired. So you see a lot of the coaches that are on the cutting edge of things are NCAA, are major, junior, even high school. Like one of my favorite coaches is a JV coach out in the Pittsburgh area with Hempfield. Like furthest thing away. I think he's a postman and he just does it on the side, does put some videos out and does some really interesting things. But like these people are the ones kind of on the cutting edge, but they also have a steady job. They're not incentivized to just keep their job. They can have fun at the rink and try things out. So like every time I've seen a coach like truly be, we'll call it groundbreaking or innovative or taking the next step, it seems like they're always coming fresh into the league from one of those breeding grounds rather than being a pro coach for a really long time. Otherwise, those guys seem to just keep doing the status quo that, this worked to this point and this won't get me fired, or at least, wait until I have a good enough roster that, the talent's so good that we win a lot and now I'm able to get a job.
This episode is brought to you by Instat Hockey, a company that makes sure no action on the ice slips your radar. Passes, puck battles, dekes, dump ins, dump outs, zone entries, and exits, everything. All data is registered, neatly arranged, and visualized to help coaches know their players like the back of their hands. You can access virtually any team, any player in any league. If you're not using Instat, you're coaching shorthanded. See what you need to see, cut it down, break it down, and make your players aware of what they're doing to ultimately improve them. Instat Hockey is your pillar of stronger communication with your team. Visit instatsport.com/hockey to learn more about instant post-game reports and Instat Scout, the unparalleled video analytics platform. Again, visit instatsport.com/hockey to learn more.